I think one word I could use to describe Mr. Miller would be interesting.
He's determined.
To describe him as chilled.
I'm Mr. Miller. I did a long trip about six years ago where I travelled from London to Brisbane, all without using an aeroplane. I started obviously in London. I travelled around Europe for about 3 or 4 weeks, mainly interrailing, but a bit of buses as well. I then got myself into Russia. I did the Trans-Mongolian Railway, actually going all the way through Russia, down through Mongolia and into China. I then travelled down through to Hong Kong, into Southeast Asia, down to Malaysia, Indonesia. Most of that was done by buses, trains and boats. Then I got to Indonesia. I actually eventually lucked out and managed to wangle my way onto a cruise ship going from Bali to Darwin. So the inspiration for the trip, I've always loved travel. I've always loved exploring different places. After university, I did a gap year and travelled a lot around Australia and New Zealand. And it had come to a point in my career that I just wanted a bit of a break. And I thought, well, why not take another gap year? Now I'm a big cricket fan, so there was a very big tournament happening, England v Australia, called the Ashes, which was a very famous cricket match. And I wanted to go there. I decided to do this for the charity you mentioned, the Oddballs Foundation, which is looking to try and make awareness of male health issues and male cancer. It's something that's quite important to me. I had a scare in that respect about 14 years ago now. So, it came with the idea of I wanted to do a few different countries, and then suddenly I realised I was going to get at least half the way without even needing to fly. So I thought, well, why not try and get the whole way? So there's a few things that stick in my mind. While I was in Austria, I was in the Alps, and I decided to go on a hike. And about 3 or 4 hours into the hike, it's absolutely poured down, and basically our route was cut off, and we had to shelter for the night in a little lodge. It was still cut off the next morning, and we had to basically hike all the way up to the top of the mountain. I was in shorts and t-shirt, which was drenched, and right at the top there was, it was all icy. It was quite dangerous. And I was actually quite fearful that this is the kind of thing you read about where people get stranded and they never make it down. Luckily, obviously, I did make it back down the other side and all was okay. But it was very ironic, I thought, that I almost had to be airlifted off by a helicopter and ruin the challenge straight away. Yeah, so that was a bit of a random decision, I'm not going to lie. I've never wanted a tattoo in my life, and not the sort of person who particularly wants another one necessarily, not that it's a regret. But the opportunity was presented to me in Thailand to get a traditional bamboo tattoo. And I thought, if I'm ever going to get one, why not get it on a trip that is probably going to be a trip of a lifetime, in a way that is perhaps a little bit more untraditional. And it will be a sort of a lasting memory of it. So yeah, I went ahead and got it, and no real regrets for that. I would say don't plan too far ahead, because that's one thing I tried not to do, and it just gives you that flexibility of maybe pivoting slightly when things don't go quite to plan, and you can just reroute around other countries or do something else. If you've planned too far ahead and you find you can't get through one country, you've then got to completely redo the plan you've already done. I definitely think that taking some time out while you're young to travel is something that you can never, never replicate. It doesn't have to be maybe as crazy as my trip, and you feel free to take planes. You don't have to try and get from A to B and traveling that way. But even just going to completely new cultures, meeting completely new people is highly recommended.
Yeah, thank you.